Hey guys, it's Dan Haurey here from Exigent Technologies. Joining me is Francisco Martinez from Simplify and my partner Eric Burke, Chief Technology Officer here at Exigent. And today we just wanted to make a short video here about using wireless building-to-building bridges or using wireless technology to connect to structures, which could possibly also reduce ISP costs. So, Francisco, you have indicated a need, particularly that you've seen in Colorado, where people are having some challenges, maybe getting an ISP or paying for two ISPs needlessly when they have two structures that are perhaps within wireless distance. Could you just explain like what the problem is?
Yeah, so we have a specific customer that has say two buildings in one piece of land. Basically, what their biggest concern is making sure that they're not going to be paying two ISP bills. And that's usually the case. And really what the technology does is it just connects both buildings and essentially just makes it one big network. And then that way it eliminates the need for that second ISP bill. So it's really as simple as that. And I think just getting that word out to the customer is really what we're trying to do here. So we have that opportunity to do that now. So it's super exciting.
So just let me get this straight here. So you have a building that has an internet service provider. Maybe it's a wired internet service provider like a cable company or something else, or it might be a wireless internet service provider, correct? And then close in somewhat of a close proximity, there's another building, separate building, and they need internet access or network access in that building as well. And what you're proposing is you're going to use wireless technology just to connect those two buildings. So for just to put a finer point on it, I mean, you guys are the wireless experts. Let's pretend I'm the customer. I have a building. Maybe there's an office operation or whatever, and then 30 yards away there's another building, and something different happens in that building. Maybe it's a barn, maybe there's a processing plant or something. I need to also have internet access there as well. What kind of questions are you typically asking? Eric, I'll ask you, what are some of the basic questions you're going to be asking this potential customer about connecting these two buildings wirelessly?
Well, we're going to want to find out whether they own those buildings or whether they have a landlord that they've got to coordinate with to get access to either the exterior for an antenna, maybe the rooftop, depending on what the differential is between building heights and things of that nature. We'd also want to do a wireless site survey and see what kind of competition there is in the area. Do we have a lot of channel co-interference or co-channel interference rather? Where we've got to potentially optimize those radios to give them as much clear space as possible. And I guess the other thing we would look at too is how robust does it have to be? Could they suffer an outage if one of those radios dropped, or would we have to potentially put a mesh system in place where they've got multiple points where they could backhaul from one building to the other?
So you're talking about redundancy there, like should the bridge fail, some customers may have a mission critical need to have some sort of backup system?
Sure.
Got it. Francisco, anything to add to that? You're going on site, talking to this landowner. What other kind of questions are you asking?
Yeah, so another big one is just general line of sight. We want to make sure there's no trees in the way, there's not another building in the way. Basically, if one building can see the other building, we're going to be able to put a product there and make it communicate. And that's
Gotcha.
In a high level sense, that's all that we need to get it going is those things that Eric said and the line of sight.
Gotcha.
If I add one more thing too, it's you still have to adhere to the kind of cabling distance limitations and stuff like that inside the building. So if you're trying to wire to that antenna, and it's 1,000 feet away, that might be problematic. You might still have to put a switch or something else between the two, or even a further span of wireless meshing together where you could potentially, backhaul that connection over wireless as well. some downsides to that in terms of adding a little bit of latency for each one of those connections, but still doable depending on the circumstances.
Gotcha. And talking about permissions from a landlord, right? If you don't own the building, the reason why we're talking about that, I suspect, is because there's hardware involved here. We might be putting up a pole to put an antenna on. We might be mounting something to the building structure, or most definitely will be doing one of those things. And so if you don't own the building, obviously you're going to need permission to do that. Of course, you don't need any special licenses from the FCC or anything crazy like that. These are just two access points that are going to be looking at each other, making that connection, correct?
Yeah, well, the only consideration you might have outside of that is lightning protection, especially if you're going with externally mounted antennas, because there are, like National Electric Code, I think requires that you have lightning protection. I think it's within 5 or 6 feet of the building entrance. So minor, thing that you have to pay attention to, but still something that you have to know about.
Gotcha. In terms of the existing IT infrastructure that's already in place, are you guys going to be looking for, Francisco, power over Ethernet? Is that going to be a requirement on the switching infrastructure that's already in place? Is that going to be another consideration?
Yeah, it's always nice to deliver the PoE from the switch. Sometimes when there's not a PoE capable switch, we can just put a PoE injector in. Usually it's a 24-volt injector, sometimes 48-volt, but we could always just mitigate that with injectors. But for the most part, I think best practice is using a switch to deliver that power.
Gotcha. So best case scenario, you have Ethernet switches that are power over Ethernet capable. If you do not, it's not exactly a deal breaker. We could deliver power to that antenna another way using an injector. Let's see. Francisco, we already know you're the Ubiquiti Unify expert, and that's your gig. So what products are you typically using for this simple application where maybe you have, a couple of buildings, 30 yards apart, you want to connect them? What Ubiquiti products might come into play there?
Yeah, so just to be clear, we're really in the space of keeping the distance of the buildings pretty short. We're not going miles and miles. We're really sticking between, maybe 500 feet and above and under a mile. So a lot of the products that we're using for that case is going to be in the airMAX line, usually nano stations. We've installed so many nano stations, I can't even keep count. And those things really they're so affordable. They're $90 for a nano station. We're also doing some GigaBeam now for faster speeds. It's usually the anything in the airMAX with the power beams, the nano stations, some of the GigaBeams is really what we're sticking to. And those are just, those products, we've had some of those products out there for 10 plus years, and those things are still kicking. So they're very durable and very affordable for our customers.
Nice. Okay. Let's see. So if I have a fairly simple application, I have two buildings not very far apart. I just need two antennas. Maybe I already have power over Ethernet capable switches that are good to go. I have permission from my landlord to put up maybe just, building mounted antennas. We won't hold you to it, but general cost for a project like this in the simplest, cleanest form, where there's no gotchas or special considerations, 2 nanostation antennas. What are you looking at in terms of cost if you're the customer?
Yeah, I mean, if it's something, a ballpark cost with hardware, labor, it really comes down to how far these antennas are from the switches, how much cabling we have to put in place. It could be a project where it's under $2,000 for a very simple setup. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Cool. All right. Anything else you guys want to add?
Specifically, I think that this does become a very good product, like we're talking about, to a lot of our customers that are out in rural Colorado. We're really going to be helping them basically do a lot of Starlink installations and utilizing a lot of the Ubiquiti products. So I think that's where a lot of competition is going to come into place soon, and that's going to be a good market for us here in Colorado and other states as well.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks for the quick conversation. If anybody out there is interested in wireless solutions, particularly in the Ubiquiti line, I know Exigent is also a big fan of Extreme Networks. But if it's wireless and you have a project, we'd love to speak to you about it. If you're looking to save some money on internet service providers and you have multiple structures with line of sight that are close enough, we'd love to speak to you about a possible building-to-building solution, wireless solution to get that done. So don't forget to give us a like if this video was helpful to you, and go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Good seeing you.
Thank you.